Howdy folks, it's JR from Digital Retribution. We are back with another book haul. I hope you are all well. You'll notice that my book haul is a little bit less this month because if you can see all up here, this is all my to read pile, which is absolutely fucking extraordinary. We're going to look at the few titles that I picked up in, what are we in, July? In June. It's not as much as I've done previously, and I'm pretty much winding it right back now because I need to start reading some of this stuff. So, I'm JR, this is Digital Retribution, welcome. Okay, so I've got a bit of a mixed bag of stuff here. Some completing a set, and then just some other bits and pieces. So let's get started, shall we? I'll start off with some manga that I picked up. I love me some Junji Ito. So the Liminal Zone 2 is his latest one. It came out in June. I'm pretty sure it came out in June. His art just gets better and better and better by the minute. I love everything he does. His stories are haunting. Like, this is real horror in this stuff. This isn't like the bullshit remakes and all of that, you know, ass fart that's leaking out of cinema's anus at the moment. This is like proper horror. There's some, like, I've discovered recently that body horror now seems to include just anything that's got gore in it. Like, anything that attacks the body is now body horror, and it's not like the more Cronenbergian sort of crazy shit. Junji Ito knows what body horror is, and there is some fucked up shit in everything he does. I haven't read this one yet. Liminal Zone, the first one, was really good. I love Tomie, I love Gyo, I love everything he does. I don't think that I've had a miss from him yet. Even the silly fun one about the adventures of his cats is a bit of a blast. Yeah, Junji Ito. If you have not read Junji Ito, get on it. And that if you're a manga person, you've not read Junji Ito, get on it. If you are not a comic reader and you haven't read Junji Ito, get on it. Great stuff, like beautiful art. And the funny thing about it is, like I just opened a minute ago, but like his artwork's kind of like this weird. It's almost like, at the risk of sounding sexist, that the figures all look like they're from like a girl's, like a teenage girl's manga rather than a horror manga, and that's what makes the horror so horrible. You know, like we talk about levels of horror, and something appears to be more horrible when it's, you know, juxtaposed with something that's quite beautiful, and so that's why this works so well. It's a strange cover, the cyberpunky sort of cover, or the machinery sort of cover. It's probably more diesel, but whatever the fuck it is. But like, I love Junji Ito. Junji Ito, number one. Get onto it. Fantastic shit. So next, I can't decide what to do. I'm so excited by the books that I've got. So you may have seen in the last couple of videos that I managed to grab a copy of X, and then I managed to grab a copy of Pearl. So what does that mean? What's next? I finally got Maxxine. So now I have the three, and they're great. They're in these really amazing. They're a lot smaller than a regular size book. They're almost like a Mills and Boon sort of size. But now that I've got all three, Tim Waggoner did all three of them. He also did like Terrifier 2, and I think I've got I can't remember if it's he did either a book based on the video game Dead Island, or he did one based on the board game Zombicide. I can't remember which one it is, but he's an amazing writer. These covers are spectacular. So happy to have the three of them. So now I'm going to start reading them. No doubt reviews will come up on this very channel very soon for the three of them. Whether I do one review for all three or a bunch of reviews, I haven't decided yet. But yeah, so Maxxine. Woo! Next, I'm going to say that the author Aron Beauregard, who's one of the so-called extreme authors, played a really, really good trick on me. I've got to give him credit for being an absolute fucking marketing genius. He posted on Instagram a few weeks ago a list of the books that he had done, and basically said, there's one book that I wrote, and I can't remember if it's his first or second book, and he said that the only people that have read this are my family and friends. So of course, what did every fucker in the world do, including me? Jumped on it. So this is Try the New Candy. There's 10 tales in here, and I'm sort of writing my own short stories at the moment, so I'm interested to read some other short stories. I've also got up here, I've got like Book of the Dead, which is stories based in George Romero's Dead World. But yeah, love this cover with the body jammed in the candy machine. I think that's fantastic. A little bit of change on the floor, and some intestines and a chainsaw. That's what we want from horror. He tricked me, and this is even illustrated too, which is pretty awesome. But that will be probably coming up for a review soon as well. It's Try the New Candy. I loved anthology books as a kid. I remembered, I think the first one I ever picked up was one from a Scholastic Book Services day, and it was called Twisters, and that had some great stories in it. And one of them was actually one where a kid was tested for something and then was taken away by the government. And it was funny, about a month after I read that, I had to go and have a CT scan and or an MRI. I can't remember which one it was. But either way, whichever it was, I back in those days, you didn't go in the big machine. They put like plasters on your head, like they gelled your hair up, put plasters on your head for the conductiveness or whatever. And because that was what they did to the kid in one of the stories in the book, I was shitting myself. So true horror is when you can relate it to your own life and think, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. And I remember being pretty scared about something that just was basically a regular kind of procedural procedure, which was pretty funny. Next is a collection of books that I bought. I've been a Doctor Who fan for as long as I can remember. I tell people all of the time that I had 3 parents growing up, and they were my mum, they were my dad, and they were Doctor Who. He was my best friend after school, watched Doctor Who after school. As soon as they came out on VHS, I started voraciously collecting them, and I still have boxes of them. Right now, sitting out in my lounge room, ready to watch next is, I think, the first season of David Tennant's Doctor Who, because I felt like watching those particular ones again, because I think that they're of a pretty high quality. And so I found a box set on Amazon of 10 books, upside down, good one, 10 books that are a real mixture of stuff in here. You know, you've got like Dalek, which is the episode about the single Dalek that's been captured. You've got 2 Douglas Adams stories that may have previously never been published before. And then like Stephen Moffat one, a Russell T Davies one, and like Rose is the first one of Peter Eccleston's Doctors. So there's a whole pile of cool shit there. And they've got like the old school sort of, I don't know if it actually is, I was wondering if it was actually Chris, I think his name was Archelios or something like that. I wasn't sure, but like, look at that, like that. I think they were about $70 for all of those books. These are going to be, I haven't separated them yet either, because I wanted to save them for the video, and I've had them for about 5 weeks now. And now I've got fucking people liking my stories on Instagram while I'm in the middle of filming. But yeah, so my understanding is that they all have those sorts of old school Doctor Who look to them. You can't really see it past She-Hulk's legs just here, but there's a bunch of the old Doctor Who's up there. But you know, like Day of the Doctors is here, written by Stephen Moffat. So if I can get this fucking thing open, Jesus Christ, where'd they get this plastic from? I see it's bound as well, so it might not get opened. But yeah, as you can quite clearly see, they've got those amazing covers that look like the old school ones, but not necessarily the ones that were done when Doctor Who wasn't on TV, which were more painterly. But yeah, so you've got Christmas Invasion, City of Death. Look at that! What a cover! Got Tom on it. Eaters of Light with Capaldi on it. Another one with the original Romana and Tom Baker. We've got the Christopher Eccleston Dalek one, and really nice cover, really echoes there was a Day of the Daleks one for the Third Doctor years ago. Witchfinders, that's got, oh my god, I've forgotten her name, Jodie Whittaker on the cover. Matt Smith one in the Crimson Horror. Another Tennant one, The Fires of Pompeii, which interestingly also had Peter Capaldi in it as a different character than the Doctor. Another Eccleston one, an Eccleston one with just Rose, and then of course the Stephen Moffat Day of the Doctor. I also love the fact that they have changed the masthead depending on what Doctor Who it was too. That's really cool. Even down to, did they? Yeah, like that's pretty awesome. I dig that shit. That's fantastic. So they will be excitedly read, and it will be interesting to read a book by Stephen Moffat. I don't think I've ever read an actual book by Stephen Moffat. It'll be interesting to see if he fucks up writing a book as bad as what he fucked up the TV show. Next, now, as I said a minute ago, I've been thinking of writing a bit of short story horror. I've always liked writing, but never considered ever publishing anything. The reason that I do Digital Retribution, the reason that I write these, the reason I do the podcasts, because I don't just have this podcast, the podcast that's associated with Digital Retribution, which I should probably do more regularly, but I don't. And I have the Nerds of Oz that I did years ago that sort of comes back intermittently, and I might do a Superman, because I watched that the other day, episode. But I thought I would grab Stephen King's Danse Macabre. Yeah, it's a book about popular culture and horror and stuff like that. Danse Macabre ranges across the whole spectrum of horror in popular culture, from the seminal classics of Dracula and Frankenstein. And I want to sort of get look into the head of, interestingly, an author that I don't really like so much, to find out what his motivations are for what he writes. And yeah, so maybe one day there'll be some fat goober sitting in a chair holding a book that has J.R. McNamara up on the top here. Probably not. Fingers crossed. So the last three books that I've got are actually books that are about film. The first one was one that, it was one of those times where you see a book and you go, that's only $20. What's wrong with it? And I decided to take the chance on. What I found what was wrong with it was that it was actually just a tiny little book, but it's called Barbarians. Barbarians at the Gates of Hollywood. Sword and sorcery movies of the 1980s. Now, that style of fantasy is something that I really love. Sitting on my desk over here is a whole pile of Warhammer stuff, because I love fantasy sort of stuff. And even up here, I have just purchased a Red Sonja model kit. So yeah, I'm a bit of a fantasy guy. Like, I've got like $500 worth of Warhammer sitting up there waiting to be built. So and a lot of that comes from a love of 80s sword and sandal and sword and sorcerer. And you can keep your Lord of the Rings. I would rather watch Highlander or that sort of stuff. And what was it? The Deathstalker series. I would rather watch those any day of the week over Lord of the Rings. But yeah, so this sort of goes through those films. Speaking of which, Deathstalker and the Warriors of Hell, 1988. Tragically, it doesn't have any photos in it, which is sad, because like, I love those films and I'd love to have photos of all of those people in that. Also the Conan films, which I watched Conan the Barbarian recently. So the next two are kind of research. Were kind of bought from a research point of view because of something that I want to do on the channel very soon. I said on a previous video that I'm trying to wind down my spending. You get to an age where you start to realize that all of your stuff is pretty cool to own, but at some point your children are going to have to deal with it after you cark it. I am quite aware of my mortality at the moment for a few reasons, and I've decided to start to purchase less and start just imparting knowledge a little bit more. And one of the things I'd like to do is a little bit of a Video Nasties series. So I'm buying some further reading to get into that. I've got like the Video Nasties. I've got the Video Nasties DVDs. I've got Satanic Panic, which is a really good book that's edited by Keela Janice, and I can't think of the name of the other person. But so other things that I've picked up have been the Satanic Scream, an illustrated guide to the devil in cinema, which is pretty good. Sort of very, very loosely illustrated with some stuff by who's it by? It's from Headpress, and I like Headpress. I think Headpress do. Nikolas Schreck. How can you not trust a book about Satanic Scream by somebody called Nikolas Schreck? So this will be one of the. I like this little devilish dude in the corner as well. Woo! So this will be probably one of my sources for that sort of stuff, because a lot of the Satanic Panic and stuff like that and Video Nasty shit came from these sorts of films. The stuff that the moral majority decided that the rest of us shouldn't be able to watch because they assumed that we were stupid and didn't understand that cinemas wasn't real. And not being aware that people who suffer from some forms of psychosis maybe will be triggered by anything that doesn't just necessarily mean a film. And finally, one that really directly is in reference, it's also from Headpress, it's from David Kerekes and David Slater, which is Cannibal Era, anti-film propaganda and the Video Nasties Panic of the 1980s. I'm pumped to read this. Again, sort of fairly, but it sort of looks at it looks at the Video Nasties thing, not just sort of saying fuck you guys, we should be able to watch what I want, but also looking at like the real clinical side of movies and psychology, which I hope I'm smart enough to understand. We'll find out. I still can't work out how to work DaVinci and do editing on my computer yet. So whether I understand the psychological ramifications of this shit might be something that we'll have to, a bridge that we'll have to cross when we get to it. But yeah, it was. I was fascinated. It's essentially, it says at the top here, a social history of the Video Nasty. Cannibal Era chronicles the phenomenal rise of video culture through a tumultuous decade, its impact, and its aftermath. You know, a lot of people talk about the Video Nasties and all the rest of it, but they don't talk about the trickle-on effect of what happened. You know, there was a lot of these films that didn't even get released until after the millennium. And what that comes down to is that what changed? What made humanity all of a sudden, what made people go, oh, humans can handle that now? Like, that, anyway, that's stuff that I'm going to be exploring in the series if and when I get around to finishing it. I sort of opened a little can of worms myself and discovered that it's a lot of work. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some books that you might find pretty cool. These were all purchased from Amazon. I don't have a problem with purchasing from Amazon because it means I can get cool books to read. I do also support stuff like St. Vinny's when I can get it, but these were all from Amazon because I didn't do any Vinny's trips or anything like that. Now, like I said, my haul videos aren't going to be, this is the last of sort of the big haul videos because I'm trying to wind it all back a little bit. I will still do some minor ones, but the amount of movies and books that I'm purchasing are going to be a lot less, but hopefully that means that I'll do more book reviews and stuff like that, and also the video reviews will go up on the website www.digitalretribution.com. You can also find me on Instagram which is, of course, Digital Retribution Oz. That's Digital Retribution OZ. I think I said AUS last time, which is really dumb because that's here on YouTube. I should try and tidy that up. But the previous head honcho of Digital Retribution is uncontactable for some reason. And I've been trying to get it all straightened up, but I can't seem to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really, really hope you enjoyed this. Please check out all of that other stuff. Check out Amazon for these books. And thank you so much. I will see you on the next video. Let's hope it's next week. Fingers crossed. Bye, y'all.